Well, and I always think, you know how a hot dog is made, what they say, what goes into a hot dog. Well,
I don't think we want to ask.
you don't ever want to know how the sausage is
hot
made.
dogs.
Yeah. But in a lot of commercial, less expensive pet food, it's after the hot dogs have been made.
Yeah, it's what's left over that's
left
even
after
worse
the
than
hot
the hot dog.
dogs.
Oh,
And I don't.
boy. Heather, thanks for joining me today. I want today to talk about how we can make the bowl better, or the platter in our case, for our pets. I get pushback from a lot of people who say, I can't afford to feed, this top of the line. I can't afford to feed all raw. I can't afford, the food that is now literally $10 to $12 a pound, particularly if we have large breed dogs. Or if we have many animals. In my case, I've got 9 cats and 4 dogs to feed. I made the mistake of adding up in my little brain the other day how much food I go through for them in a month. It's really scary. I probably shouldn't ask. But, there are things if somebody can't afford to feed top of the line $10 a pound food, which, by the way, folks, compare pricing, even if you're shopping in the grocery store or the pet store. A lot of times people say, I feed those little tiny cans because my dog or my cat likes them so much. And you're like, it's only $1.29 a can. What's the big deal? Figure out what that is per pound, because a lot of those little cans aren't even an ounce.
Yeah.
And so it's like you are spending $16 a pound
Right.
on really low quality food. So make sure you're actually comparing apples to apples when you're doing these comparisons.
Buy in bulk if you can, or
Buy in bulk,
Yeah.
and buy the best quality that you can. I love that Susan Thixton has posted pictures of this in her blogs many times. So go to truthaboutpetfood.com if you have questions about this. But what we picture in our mind when we're picturing chicken and we see chicken on an ingredient label, we're picturing that beautiful chicken in the grocery store that looks...
that breast is just
that
perfect.
breast. It just looks beautiful. That boneless, skinless, beautiful thighs. And that's what we're picturing is going into pet food.
Yeah.
But that is not what goes into most pet food.
True.
Unfortunately.
True. Well, and I always think, you know how a hot dog is made, what they say, what goes into a hot dog. Well,
I don't think we want to ask.
you don't ever want to know how the sausage is
hot
made.
dogs.
Yeah. But in a lot of commercial, less expensive pet food, it's after the hot dogs have been made.
Yeah, it's what's left over that's
left
even
after
worse
the
than
hot
the hot
dogs.
dog. Oh,
And I don't.
boy.
So yeah, it's definitely not that breast. It's not that beautiful drumstick
not.
that you saw.
Like
no.
literally, it can be green moldy chicken that has
4D,
been rendered.
yeah.
The 4D meats that has been rendered is allowed to be used in pet food, even though the law states otherwise. FDA has said, meh.
Yeah.
Law schmaw. We don't care. We're going to allow it. What we want to do is, if we can't afford to feed this really high-end food, how can we increase the nutrient density of what we're feeding our pets and still try to be somewhere in a budget?
Yeah. I mean, I think 20% is kind of what we hope for at the beginning of what kind of what our nutritional ladder that we look at. What kind of fresh food can you put on? We were just talking about eggs. Egg is such a beautiful product. You can just throw on top of the bowl.
An egg is a beautiful product, but now that I raise my own organically raised chickens who are giving me these beautiful organic eggs, right, left and upside down, I've got eggs coming out my ears, which is amazing because that gives me eggs for the family. It also gives me eggs for people that work for us. It gives me eggs for my animals, which, let me tell you, if I have a dozen eggs and I sit them somewhere in the barn waiting to come up to the house, I've got a couple of cats who are over there opening up the containers and stealing eggs. My cats are stealing raw eggs because they love them. It's such a bonus to have that beautiful, rich in omegas, rich in fat-soluble vitamins, B vitamins, protein. An egg is a superfood.
Yeah.
On the digestibility scale, it's like 100.
Yeah.
It is right there.
Yeah.
But not all eggs are the same.
Nope. That's true. That sourcing of everything matters, right? I mean, we're talking vegetables all the way up to your venison. The sourcing matters.
Exactly. I know that the eggs that I'm providing are great.
Sure.
Not everybody has chickens and not everybody can source their own eggs.
Sure.
When we're going to the grocery store, those eggs actually have been pretty highly processed. Even though it still looks like an egg in a shell,
Sure.
it looks like it's, that's the natural thing. But they've been washed. So that's step one. We don't wash our eggs.
Yeah.
Egg shells have a coating on them that protects the egg.
Yeah.
So that you don't get salmonella and bacterial
And it
infections.
stays good for longer.
And the eggs are so our eggs unwashed can sit on the counter for 90 days. No problem. They don't need to be refrigerated. They're better not being refrigerated.
Yeah.
Once those eggs are washed, you've got 30 days because you've destroyed that coating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all eggs in the grocery store are going to be washed. The other thing that you can see on eggs in the grocery store is they might say pasture-raised chickens. Well, pasture-raised has a different definition. Like in our brain, we're seeing chickens running through a field.
Sure.
But the definition of pasture-raised chicken, it just means they weren't in a little tiny cage.
Sure. And most meat chickens aren't in a real tiny cage anyway, most meat chickens. Yeah, chickens, that's a tough one. Yeah, what is a natural behavior? What is their varied diets?
Yeah. So these pasture-raised chickens with eggs in the grocery store are still in a cage. It's just a bigger penned area.
Yeah.
They're not out grazing on the grass. They're not eating bugs. They're still being fed a very specific diet.
Yeah. I mean, I encourage people to reach out to their social media network because a lot of people do have chickens even in the cities.
True.
Work out some deals.
There was a city, it was a European city, and I can't remember what country it was in, but they did an experiment. And
Denmark?
Maybe, but they did an experiment where everyone in the city was given 4 chickens, kept them in their backyards.
Yeah.
Then all of their kitchen scraps went to the chickens, and then everybody had their own fresh eggs to eat. But it decreased the amount of garbage going to the landfills
food waste.
significantly.
Yeah.
So all that food waste was now being recycled into edible food.
Yeah. Get to know your local chicken people. I've got a friend with chickens and she'll come home to leftovers sitting on because people know.
Yep.
And then she'll turn around and sell a dozen for $5, which is these days about the same as it is in the grocery store anyway.
That's less.
It's been a while since I bought eggs, so because I know people. But I mean, I think, look at the people around you. See what you can source that way. Get to know your local butchers. Organ meat is not typically desired in most U.S. diets. You can get that organ meat if you can. There are cheaper cuts of meat that are actually much more nutritious. So, think outside of your filet mignon.
Before we had the
add?
farm and before we were buying, so now we buy a heritage pasture-raised pig that's butchered. That's where we get our pork now. And we're buying our beef from pasture-raised, holistic farms, regenerative farmers. But before we knew about that, we had a local butcher when we lived in New Jersey. My husband used to love to go there and pick out his wonderful steaks. And so one day I said to the butcher, can you get organ meats? Can you get kidneys and hearts and livers? And he was like, oh, I'm sure I can. Let me ask my farmers.
Sure.
And he says, why would you want all of that?
Yeah, because we're not cooking with it.
I said, that is just amazing. My dogs were raw fed. And I said, that would be an amazing food source for my dogs. And I said, by the way, I've got a lot of other dog owners who are my clients who would also love to be able to get this stuff.
Yeah.
So if you have a butcher, and I've even done this in the grocery store. I went to the local grocery store and asked the guy behind the meat counter, I said, can you get beef heart for me?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know, I'll find out.
Yeah.
Went back the next week and he said, I can get beef heart, but you have to buy the entire heart. And I went, that's a lot. It's big. Okay. But I can find chicken hearts, chicken livers, turkey hearts, turkey livers. We actually have one Latino grocery store here where I can get all the pig kidney, pig heart, pig liver, pig tongue, spleen, all the different parts and pieces that we don't normally think about.
Yeah. And that's the thing is we're not, the prices on those tend to be pretty good because it's not a highly desired or a common thing that we're putting in our pot
Unless you're
roaster.
Scottish and you like to make steak and kidney pie.
Yeah.
Which I've had, but I can't say that I really recommend it. So you work for a company called Canine Feline Natural, which sources from New Zealand.
Yes.
And everything there, they don't have confinement animal raising operations there.
They're sentient beings, so they have to treat them differently. So it is 100% pasture raised, and especially if you're talking about organ content, it's really important that those animals are pasture raised because you don't want these secreting organs that have been fed really bad stuff that I don't even want to go into.
Yeah. GMO grains that have been chemically treated.
Yeah.
Whatever is fed to that animal is showing up, particularly in those organs.
Yeah.
You have tripe in a lot of your formulations and as a treat.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the difference between the tripe that we see in the grocery store versus the tripe that we recommend feeding our pets.
Yeah, we get a lot of feedback. Sometimes people want to know, why is it called green tripe? It is a little bit green, I guess, if you really want to look at the full color spectrum of green, but that's not what green means. Green in this case means it has not been bleached and scalded, which is what has to happen for human consumption because we are delicate creatures with long digestive tracts. The tripe we are selling, and we put it in our diets, we put it as it's just on its own. It's such a phenomenal 100% organ meat. If you're doing something to add onto that bowl, this is a beautiful way to put, even if it's just 20%, adding that on. But the sourcing there really matters, and the fact that it wasn't processed in the same way that the human consumption tripe is processed.
So when you see tripe in the grocery store, it's going to be white. And that's because it's been washed and then bleached to make it this beautiful white. It looks like a honeycomb. So tripe is the first stomach of a ruminant. So a ruminant is a four-stomached animal, like a cow, a goat, a sheep, deer. And from a Chinese medicine standpoint, like treats like. So for animals with digestive issues, tripe is such a beautiful addition to the diet. It's also the lowest phosphorus meat that we can feed. So for animals with kidney disease, tripe is like the perfect,
it's 1-to-1 calcium phosphorus. It's beautiful.
It's the perfect food for them. I remember once I had a client with a large breed dog, and the dog was in pretty late stage kidney disease. She wanted me to design a diet for the dog, and I said, okay, well, we're going to have to use tripe and kidney. She said, I'll do whatever it takes. And she was afraid to feed raw, so she wanted to gently cook the food. And I said, that's great. This is going to smell really bad. Tripe smells really bad, and kidney smells really bad. So she found a good source of tripe and kidney that she was getting raw from a local butcher. She was making the food in her slow cooker, but she plugged it in outside. And her dog did really well for over a year on this diet. And this owner was so dedicated that I was like, I bet your neighbors really love you.
I got a 5-pound chub of frozen tripe once, and I was so happy to get it. And I have a strong stomach. Letting that defrost and chopping, that was that was a whole new world I wasn't interested in.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's much better to get it already freeze-dried or already made for your pets because it's a lot easier.
Pre-portioned is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a lot easier on the nose.
Do not get that. I mean, I just told everybody to buy it in bulk. Don't buy your tripe in bulk unless you've lost your sense of smell entirely.
But don't thaw it out and chop it up in your kitchen right before you're having a big family event.
Do not do it.
Probably
there's not enough
coming
windows in your house to open to make this okay. The freeze drying is beautiful. I like to say it smells like a petting zoo. I used to say it smells like a barn, but then actually it was a retailer who said, call it a petting zoo. Everybody smiles when you say petting zoo.
It would be a dirty petting zoo.
But it's so tolerable to smell that way. It does just smell like a barn. It's very tolerable. So this is a very accessible, easy way to get that ingredient.
To improve the bowl. There's a huge difference. I saw a documentary yesterday where they went and cultured chicken from the grocery store. And so we all know the FDA has this zero tolerance for any bacteria in raw pet food, which is a little bit crazy because USDA, which governs food in the grocery store for people, allows bacterial contamination of the meat. So we're warned to cook our chicken really well, cook our especially our ground meat, very well. And the reason for cooking it is cooking kills bacteria when you get to a certain temperature for a long enough period of time. Ground meat tends to be very highly contaminated because it's been ground. It has a bigger surface area of exposure to be contaminated. In this documentary that I was watching, they did cultures on grocery store chicken and then cultured pasture-raised, completely pasture-raised chicken that was in a no-stress environment, very, very humanely raised, versus what you're getting in the grocery store is going to be confinement operation-raised chicken. The difference in the bacterial load was astounding. For the chicken that was in the grocery store, it was over 3,600 colony-forming units of bacteria. And for the pasture-raised happy chickens who were processed in an outdoor kitchen processing area on a farm, it came in at like 138. That's like a 300-fold difference in bacterial contamination. The happy pasture-raised chicken versus the grocery store chicken.
Right. Taking it so far out of nature.
Right.
And that's so much of what is happening in commercial.
It is.
Operations.
And so, you know, so I'm sure we could find the same thing in confinement-raised beef products in the grocery store versus happy cows that are processed not in that system. You know, for the FDA to say that they have a zero tolerance is a little bit crazy. It's just a way for the big pet food companies to have something to hold over the small pet food companies, unfortunately. If we're getting that grocery store confinement raised chicken, maybe it is a little better to cook it a little bit before you add it to, to your dog's bowl. Yeah. Remember, no cooked bones. It just goes to show that there really is a huge difference. And when we look at nutrient density, in those happy pasture-raised animals versus nutrient density in a confinement-raised animal, it's hugely different.
Hugely different.
The omega-3 levels, hugely
so much higher,
different.
Conjugated linoleic acids, lower bacterial counts, lower saturated fats. It's just, you know, red meats are inflammatory, but so much less inflammatory when you're talking about pasture-raised.
It's difficult for people who have a very tight budget to be able to get this level. What I would say is, you know, if you're city bound, you're in a little bit of a food desert and it's a bit of a problem. But if you live out in the country anywhere, man, get to know your local farmers. Ask your butcher, what can they get for you? What parts and pieces can they get? Ask the butcher at the grocery store.
Because frequently they're throwing it away. You know, these cuts are being thrown away, which again, we're circling back to food wastage, and especially when you're talking about an animal life, that's just...
Right. Or it's going to be rendered and then it gets used in... You know, once it goes through that rendering process, now it's completely changed. And if you can't afford to add meats to the bowl, then let's go get some really good organic veggies, fruits, no grapes, no onions, but blueberries. That's another superfood. Love mushrooms. Mushrooms, saute them a little bit, add them. Can't have enough mushrooms.
Right. Yeah. And just, anything that, you know, isn't going to fit your aesthetic or what you look as, your pets don't care. You know, grind it up.
Yeah.
Give it to them.
You're chopping up broccoli for your family.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're chopping up broccoli for your family.
Please chop up broccoli for your family.
Please get fresh fruits and veggies for the family as well. I talk all the time about shopping the perimeter of the grocery store. And it's really interesting when my husband, we grow so much of our own vegetables now that we don't even need to buy. I can't grow broccoli, so we have to buy that. So I don't even have to buy very many vegetables there. Most of our meat, like I said, we're getting this pasture-raised stuff. So when we go to the grocery store, it's a really quick trip. It's like one trip around the outside. I never hit the middle of the grocery store unless my husband's like, oh, I need this specific spice. Or, you know, I need, you know, the specific sauce that I'm looking for. But even that, I'm standing there in the aisle with him and he'll pick up a bottle of sauce and I'm like, hand that over. And I flip it over and I read the ingredients and I go, well, here's 3 things in here that we are not eating. And it really makes them a little bit crazy. But it's really important to be that label reader. Hopefully our food supply is going to be cleaned up a little bit. High fructose corn syrup is going to disappear if we get really lucky. Look for dyes added to the food. There's no reason for it to be in there. Look for salts and sugars that are in there. They're used as preservatives. They don't need to be there. So if you're buying, I don't advocate peanut butter, but if you're buying peanut butter, get the one that is just ground peanuts and no other additives. Almond butter is even better. Look for the one that's just ground almonds. When we're buying bone broth or even alternative milk sources like soy milk or almond milk, they have so many additives in them. They have carrageenan and gums and all kinds of preservatives. You need to avoid all that stuff. It just is not good for you. It's not good for your pets. Find the simplest ingredients. When you read that label, you want to be able to pronounce everything that's in there and know why it's there.
Right. Well, and I've got a great grocery store tip. When you're there, not only shop the perimeter, but shop the perimeter of the perimeter where you're going to find the damaged, the shortly out of date. And if you're going to be cooking this meat anyway, look, I mean, there's frequently organ meats off to the very side there by the butcher counter that is marked down.
I find them in the freezer section.
Sure,
So
yeah.
the turkey hearts, turkey livers, and turkey gizzards, for some reason, those are always frozen.
Yeah.
In the freezer section in our grocery store where they have frozen meats.
They're trying to preserve them just a little longer, probably.
I guess,
Yeah.
because I don't know who else is buying them, but I buy them every week.
Yeah.
And then the chicken hearts and livers, I always find in the meat section for whatever reason. I guess those are more common.
Right.
But I will say, every time we check out at the grocery store and I've got my turkey hearts and my chicken hearts, every single time they ask, "What are you making with these? What are you
doing?
using these for?" I'm like,
we don't see these come
"It's
through.
for our dogs."
Yeah.
Really? You feed this to your dog? Yes. This is, then I have to get into the whole discussion about how
Sure.
this is such an amazing addition to their diet and that our dogs are raw fed. So that starts another whole thing.
Yeah.
Luckily now I live in the South where going to the grocery store is a social event. In the Northeast, nobody talks to anybody. So, we would buy it there and nobody would ask and everybody just looked the other way. In the South, my husband will stand there and have a half-hour discussion with whoever we're talking to, so it's fine. But we're also educating people by doing that.
I think that's so good. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, so we really appreciate the Canine and Feline Naturals line because this is grass-fed, this is grass-finished.
Greenland mussels.
And New Zealand has just a totally different level of how the animals are raised.
And think about the cortisol levels in the meat and, and organ content. Our diets have about 40% organ content in there. We love organs. I mean, I don't love organs. I love organs for my dog.
I don't know. Apparently, eating liver is very, very good for us. Eating heart's very good for. Actually, I will say that my mom was raised on a farm. Their family didn't have much money, so there was always a big fight over who got the heart, who got the liver, and I mean all the different parts and pieces of the animals, but it was really funny. There were 3 kids in the family, and one had claims on the gizzard, one had claims on the liver, one had claims on the heart.
I loved gizzards growing up.
And my grandfather always had claims on the neck.
Okay.
The turkey neck or the chicken neck. So it's pretty funny. Everybody had their nope, that's mine.
Yeah.
And my mother still, if we're cooking a chicken, she wants the chicken heart.
Yeah.
Very, very good for you. But you can also share with your pets. If you don't want to eat it, that's fine. Share with your pets. It's good stuff.
I think you had a great point, though. Getting to know your butchers, getting to know your grocers, because there's a lot of stuff that goes to waste that your pet's digestive system can handle just fine.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're a little nervous about it, gently cook it. Thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you.
When I was in practice, my clients trusted that I would find the safest, best natural products for their pets and my patients. That's how I started Naturally Healthy Pets. I had a lot of clients who had to travel a long distance to get to my clinic, and when they needed refills, we needed a way to easily be able to have them order and get them shipped very quickly. So I started Naturally Healthy Pets in my garage. My husband Hugh would do fulfillment for me. All of the products that have been available on Naturally Healthy Pets over the years have been hand selected by me to be the most natural, human grade, best products for your pets that are actually going to help them with their health and longevity. If you like the content on my channel, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. The more subscribers we get, the more people we will reach, because the platform will push it out to more people. So hit like and subscribe.